Brian Sachs here with another Top Originator secret to help you close more, make more, and still enjoy your life. Would you ever say this to a client? Are buyers really liars? If you missed part one, stop the video right now and go back and watch it. We covered a lot of ground and we discussed the questions we should be asking about income. But now, let's move on to the correct questions to ask about assets and credit. First, let's start with the question about assets. I hear loan officers asking buyers, how much money do you want to use? Or how much money do you have to work with? Well, the problem with that question is that the buyer imagines your hand literally going into their wallet or purse and they immediately tense up. Think about the last time you asked this question and the awkward silence for a few seconds you heard in person or on the other end of the phone. Instead, try asking the same question this way. How much do you want to invest in this transaction? You will need some funds for down payment and closing costs, and this will help me suggest the proper program options for you. Depending on their answer, you may also need to suggest first-time buyer grants and explain to them how lender and seller credits work. You can also explain gifts from relatives as well as withdrawals or loans from their retirement accounts, which are sources they may not have even thought of. And lastly, let's discuss credit. You should never ask the buyer, how's your credit? There's nothing worse than working with a client for months only to find out later when you run their credit report that they have serious issues. Why don't you just run the credit report up front? Most buyers are very apprehensive about having their credit run because they fear it may hurt their credit scores. And so it's important for you to let them know that although pulling credit is a hard pull, it should not seriously affect their score. You may need to also let them know that all mortgage pulls within 30 days count as one pull. And again, it should not adversely affect their scores. I try to explain it this way. I'd like your permission to pull your credit report. It's important for us to know your credit scores, and it's always a good idea to make sure that the information on your credit report is accurate. We oftentimes find items on clients' reports that they weren't aware of or that are in error. Once you have said this, it's critical that you immediately transition and ask them for their date of birth, address, social security number. It's also important to ask for these items in this exact order since their social security number is the one piece of information people try to protect the most. Asking for it last, after they've given you all of the other information, makes it easier psychologically for them to provide it. And one last important item on their credit report. Many times your client will tell you they already know their credit scores because they're signed up for Credit Karma or they get it on their credit card statements. It's important for you to explain to them that there are different scoring models for credit cards, installment loans, and of course mortgage financing. And while we're on the topic of debts, you should also of course ask them if they are paying or receiving alimony or child support. Now, do you know someone who could benefit from this tip? Feel free to pass it on. If you have a question I can answer for an upcoming episode, send it to me at brian@toporiginatorssecrets.com. I'll be back next week with part 3 of Our Buyers Are Liars. Make sure you visit toporiginatorssecrets.com.